let's get into the next phase of the interview. And this is at the heart of what our show is about. We started it because we wanted to mentor lawyers from all spheres and all ages in whichever profession. We've been lucky to get practitioners, politicians, academicians, in-house lawyers, people in the entertainment field, and we'll continue to get more. Hopefully we'll get someone in sports very soon.
Yeah.
But today we have the opportunity to have somebody who is a mentor and somebody who is a mentee in our interview. So I will invite you to introduce yourself, and then Mutwa will ask the next question.
I don't know what to ask, but you're going to ask.
No, I can ask you. So you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And then Prof will just take us through what he does in terms of mentorship, because I'm sure he does a lot. And then after that, you'll explain to us the dynamics of your mentorship, relationship,
yeah,
what you've gained from it, and what you do yourself.
Yeah.
So introduction, him and then yourself.
Okay. So thank you very much. My name is Patrick Kimani. I am an advocate. At the moment, I'm working at the United Nations International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals based in Arusha. The work of the in short, the UNIRMCT is it's mandated to perform some of the essential functions of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, the tribunal that was set up by the United Nations Security Council to prosecute crimes committed after the Rwandan or during the Rwandan genocide. At the moment, I'm on a break, but I work as an assistant legal officer in the office of the prosecutor. So some of our assignments or tasks include tracking some of the fugitives that are still on the run. Some may know about Felician Kabuga, who was
involved in that.
I will not confirm or deny. Confidential, but yeah, that's part of one of the assignments. Although Kabuga has already been arrested, but there are a couple of other fugitives still on the run, which the office is still working on. There are others mandates, including, supporting national jurisdictions such as Rwanda and the former Yugoslavia to prosecute their cases, enforcement of sentences, and matters relating to people who've already been convicted and sentenced. So those are some of the functions carried out by the UNIRMCT, based in Arusha and The Hague. Yeah.
Thank you. Prof?
Excellent. So, mentorship. It's interesting. Mentorship has become a concept that is very often misunderstood as something you do in a formal way with a structure. I'm your mentor because we write to each other once a month and I tell you this target and this. While that is true, part of mentorship is a lot more, is friendship. Friendship is when souls, human beings, share the most important things for them, of life and death, or life after death, we could say. But you see, it's partly giving yourself. And I think every teacher, in that sense, has that vocation, or should have that vocation of giving yourself to your students, to your people, and seeing them personalized. So one of the things we wanted always in Strathmore, and we fought for this in the law school, was to have the name tag, name place. Every student had their names because the classrooms are in U-shape. So like in business schools, and you have your name there, so nobody could hide. And this removes anonymity, so people behave better because everybody knows, gosh, I'm Louis, and then I cannot hide myself behind anything like anonymity. which is dangerous. And that gives a personal touch to the relationship. So I knew all the names of my students, of most of them, because sometimes you may forget some. But that in itself makes the relationship different. And then you get interested in what they do also outside school. Oh, this one is a poet, this one is a musician, this one loves sports, this one is an incredible soccer player, or whatever it is. And of course, you do that by knowing their names, sometimes their families, their problems, their situations. Of course, Strathmore has done very well in this, because knowing this basic concept that is about friendship in that sense, with example, then you can structure it a little bit. So every student would get a mentor, one of the lecturers, or sometimes people outside the school also could be mentors. And these mentors meet with the mentees from time to time. Of course, I had mentees with whom I feel guilty because I did not really manage to follow them up. Why? Because it's also a two-way, it takes two to tango. No, it's a two-way thing. But there are many that, yes, we hit it in the proper way and we kept speaking. And then, something very important, you always try to lift them up and to showcase them. I don't know, perhaps it's part of nature, but I always wanted the students to experience what I was experiencing. If you are invited to a function, invited and you know you can bring people, or you are going to a certain place and you know you can bring people from the law school, students, you give them that chance. Or when they ask, okay, can you give this conference, I don't know where, you send one of your young lecturers to expose them. So it doesn't have to be you, I was always reluctant, for example, to author things with my name alone if other people had participated in writing.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest problems I found here with academicians. We professors would write a lot and say, well, how can this fellow publish 15 articles, deep articles in a year? Say, well, because he has many people writing, researching for him or for her. Say, well, if they have researched, fine, they have found new materials, but sometimes they have written, so they are co-authors.
Yeah.
So co-author with them, and that way you push them up. Perhaps you know, when I used to write for the Nation, a time came when, well, look, I had no more time, and then I asked, I told the Nation, look, I'm going to stop. It's impossible. And they told me, no, please, no, don't stop. And tell them, okay, look, I'm working with 3 people who could co-author with me. Yeah, okay, fine, it's not normal, co-author with them. Then, okay, they would put my picture there, but then the co-authors were the 3 of us. And that made a difference. It was a fight to make them agree. But I said, look, if I am writing half of the article or a third of the article, and these 2 other people are writing the other 2/3, and we are putting it together, it's not my article. It belongs to the 3 of us. So I think that's the idea. You see, some people fear putting others up because it's like competition. No, for me, on the contrary, I think the vocation of a true teacher is pushing people up, and they will be the ones who will succeed. I don't doubt Patrick here will one day become the Secretary General of the United Nations or of the Commonwealth, because, well, and that will be part of my success. To conclude, I always give the example, it's not mine, I heard this from a teacher. It's like Picasso. If somebody says, wow, this Picasso, the Guernica is so incredible and so beautiful, and look at the proportions and how he managed to, if Picasso was there, he would not get annoyed. Why are you praising my painting instead of praising me? See, he will be proud. Well, whenever anybody praises anybody I have touched, I am happy. It's a beautiful thing.
So, Mr. Kim, is it Mr. Doctor Professor?
Mr.
So one of the things that my mentor told me was that you don't call people that you're not familiar with on the first name basis. So that's why I've used Mr. or Doctor or Professor. So, Mr. Kimani, I want you to talk about the relationship between a mentee and a mentor. A very pragmatic one, because you are here and he's here. And also maybe to say something that has not been mentioned. One of the reasons why we have this professor here today is because of one of his mentees. It's called Francis Onjiko. Yes.
So thank you very much. I think I'll take on from where Professor Franceschi started. That is on the basis of mentorship being the friendship, and a friendship that endures between the mentor and the mentee. And speaking of our personal relationship, I think I can speak about it now because he's here.
Give him flowers.
Of course, all the plaudit. And I must mention here, he's wished that I become the Secretary General of the United Nations. If I don't become, it's not because he didn't mentor me well. It's my own fault. I think we first met in 2012. At the time, I was working as a volunteer somewhere as a receptionist in a study center near Strathmore University. And Professor Franceschi, at the time, already had a reputation that preceded him. So working at that as a receptionist there, I'd of course heard about the upcoming event. There's an upcoming law school, and the dean, the prospective dean, is going to give a talk. So everyone is excited. We are all looking forward to it. And of course, I attended. At the time, I was very undecided about my career choice. I wanted to pursue pharmacy. I thought about actuarial science. I thought about medicine. I went into the talk not with an open mind, I must say. I'd never considered taking law as a course. I never thought about world justice or equality, all those grand things that most of us come out of law school with. So, listening to the talk, I must say it didn't change me. It didn't change my mind. But what actually changed me was a conversation that we had with Louis afterwards, Professor Franceschi. It was a short conversation in the corridors, and I think what he told me in the corridors, so he asked me, okay, what grade did you get in high school? I told him, okay, I done well. Then he told me, so what are you going to do in university? I told him, I'm thinking about actuarial science. Then he said, how boring. You should take law.
Actuaries don't
That's very boring. Okay, it wasn't like, a very mind-blowing argument that he presented at that point. But that just caught me at the back of my mind and set me in a different direction from what I've been thinking about. And of course, we met a few more times afterwards, and he kept nagging me, asking, so what are you thinking? Are you still thinking about the boring actuarial science? So to cut the long story short, ended up doing the interview, and I was lucky. I was admitted as one of the pioneer students of the law school. And it's a decision I don't regret, partly because it has exposed me to so many opportunities, and thanks to him. He mentioned that his idea of mentoring someone is to expose them. Like, if you want someone to learn, you have to expose them to an environment which will help him grow. And I feel that that is what he has done in my case, because the contribution, like these are one of the first, I think the commentary when you're producing your first edition, the commentary on the Constitution, some classmates of mine and I were doing most of the research, and it was such a proud moment to be acknowledged as contributors there. And it means a lot for a law student at that time. You know, you've never written a paper anywhere, no one knows your name, but at least you see it in print. I think it's quite an honor. Speaking from the point of view of a mentee, I would say I've been reading this book by one of the preeminent intellectuals of the modern day, Professor Jordan Peterson, and one of he presents an archetype, basically, of, you know, how to think about starting out in life, the utility of the fool. That when you're starting out in life, you have to be humble, to assume your lowly position in life, and be grateful about it. You know, take all the opportunities, not because you feel that you deserve better, but be grateful and humble for what you have, and then set your ideal. In my case, it was Professor Franceschi, because I could see it's an ideal I want to reach for. So the opportunities that come my way, I have to take them, and I have to try and get to the point. Of course, it's a journey, and we are always looking to improve all the time. But as long as you're humble enough, and you appreciate what comes your way and use that to grow day by day, I think that's the secret. Yeah.
Mabibi na mabwana, kuna mtu hapa ajui Kiswahili vizuri, so sitamsengenya. So Professor, thank you for coming on board. One of my closest friends is called George Kimotho, sends his regard. He was one of your mentees. He says if you're interviewing Louis and you don't pass my flowers, you're going to fight. At least I've done that. So tumeruka nje, show imeisha.
All right, no more questions. Unless you have a burning one.
I don't have a burning. I just want to
burning.